Hello, everyone. Hope you and your loved ones are doing fine. For this edition, we have been joined by our experts, our economist and fund manager, Mr. Bhupesh Bameta, and our fund manager, Harshil Suvankar. Welcome, Bhupesh and Harshil. Just to set the perspective very quickly, the strong second wave of COVID has significantly declined. This impact is broad-based, and we see the restrictions easing across states. However, vaccination is the key, remains the key to prevent the third wave and sustainably control the pandemic going forward. It's been observed that the activity indicators have started recovering quite fast, and this is reflected by a sharp recovery across global as well as local levels. So is the global inflation print being rising steadily. India is no exception to this, joining the global bandwagon. We discussed about this in our last edition as well in detail. Further, on the recently concluded FOMC, Fed, though did not indicate any change in its stance, there was a hawkish shift in its guidance, indicating or signaling two rate hikes by 2023. In this context, there has been a background chatter amongst our investor and the partners fraternity on the likely path of policy normalization. Uh, Bhupesh, just with that backdrop, can you give a sense on current state of monetary policies and why everyone is talking about this policy normalization?
Thanks, Nayan. Just to give you a background, over the last 2.5 years, RBI has been aggressively easing the monetary policy. It started in the beginning of 2019, and then it has picked up steam. Over the last 2.5 years, we have seen a total of 250 basis point of repo rate cut and 290 basis point of reverse repo rate cut. So they have done both rate cuts. They have also been doing a lot of quantitative easing. For the last 1.5, 2 years in particular, they have been aggressively building up their balance sheets. It has been a combination of FX operations and OMOs, and their balance sheet has grown by more than 10 percentage point as a percent of GDP. So both rate cuts, both reduction in the cost of money, plus increase in the supply of money. This has resulted in a sharp pickup in liquidity across the system. Banking system liquidity at a surplus of around 6-7 trillion per day. MC growth, reserve money growth, all the monetary indicators have increased significantly since the last 1.5, 2 years. Besides the pickup in money supply indicators, what we have seen is that yield curve have collapsed across the board. If you look into the India's yield curve relative to what it was the last 15 years, across the board, but we have a significant reduction in the rates. This has resulted in a sharp decline in even real rates. 1 year FD rates have come down to negative territory. If you look into the weighted average lending rate, they've also come down pretty sharply. And what we are seeing, much of this easing was done in response to the pandemic. And what we are seeing is that the pandemic has, the second wave of pandemic has come down significantly. And the economic indicators have also suggesting that the rebound is pretty swift. Firstly, the decline in the second wave was much lower than the first wave. And secondly, the recovery that we are witnessing is also pretty swift. So financial conditions, monetary policy, very much easy, while economic indicators improving. This is also, added to that, we've also seen a pickup in inflation, and all these combined have led to the chatter that maybe this is the time for RBI to start normalizing their monetary policy.
That's quite elaborative and detailed, Bhupesh, on that. Just to add up a follow-up question regarding the same. So while Fed is poised for fast forward in terms of normalization, are we prepared for this global spillovers? And just to linking, another question. Do you think is another taper tantrum on its way?
So first look into what the Fed is forecasting. What Fed is saying is that over the next 2.5, 3 years, while the state of the economy remains pretty decent, their real GDP is likely to be much higher than the longer run. The unemployment rate is likely to fall pretty significantly, and while the inflation is likely to be more than their longer run the target of inflation, but still they are forecasting only 2 rate hikes, and that too in 2023. Besides this, what they're also saying is that Chairman Powell has been on record saying that the liftoff is well into future, and market is right now much more concerned about the tapering decision. And there they are saying that whenever the tapering decision happen, it will be well communicated in advance so that it's a gradual thing and markets are able to prepare themselves. This is not only about Fed, but other central banks are also likely to be much more dovish. This year, despite the super strong growth that we are seeing around, this year the G4, all the DM central bankers are cumulatively expected to increase their balance sheet by $3.6 trillion in this year itself and $1.5 trillion next year. So the monetary policy and the level of quantitative easing, all these things combined will ensure that overall financial conditions and overall level of rates and liquidity still remains quite easy well into next year. That's point number one. And secondly, compared to what we saw in 2013 when we had this taper tantrum, the EM balance sheets are quite robust. You look into the current account surplus, they have picked up significantly. You look into their core inflation, that is also pretty okay. And that's about EM. Even for India, if you look, our external macro stability parameters are still quite, are quite decent compared to what we were in 2013, when where we had very, big CAD we were running at that time. Compared to that, our CAD levels are pretty normal. Also, RBI has been accumulating a lot of forex reserves over the last 2 years. In particular, and if you look into the the trajectory of reserves versus the external debt, we are pretty comfortable. Also, if you look into reserve adequacy with respect to the amount of import that we do, we are again over the last 20 years, if you look into the last 20-year history, the numbers are pretty comfortable. So point number one, the withdrawal of policy globally is likely to be much more gradual affair. It will be it will be telecasted within advance, and they don't want to surprise the market. That's one thing. And secondly, whenever they do it, given the fact that both EMs and India's macro stability parameters and balance sheet is much more stronger than 2013, means that the worries are much lower compared to what we saw in the taper tantrum in 2013.
Which that's quite insightful and a lot of data points on those supporting arguments. Just taking cue from one of those projections where likely to see higher inflation. So Harshil, taking a note on that, will the signals of persisting high inflations, pressurizes RBI on the local front to prepone its policy normalization?
Sure, Nand, that's a very pertinent question, especially in the current time that we've seen a 6.3% kind of CPI print last month, which took the markets by surprise, and now inflation is expected to print higher over the next couple of months, which brings in the question that whether RBI will prepone policy normalization expectations. So the question then is to see as to why inflation is rising. So if we look at why inflation has been rising, is generally you've seen commodities rise over the everywhere. You've seen metals rise, you've seen agricultural commodities, you've seen crude, etc. rising. Lately, we've seen some kind of relief rally in commodities, especially in metals and agricultural commodities, apart from crude. So, but then crude again continues to rise, especially after yesterday's OPEC meeting. We've seen crude rise by about $2 to about 77. So, which is a little bit of concern, because crude forms a large a part of our import basket, and fuel is used across the board. So that can lead to some inflation in the economy. But the question is that whether easy monetary conditions have caused these inflation in higher inflationary expectation, or cause this inflation prints. Because of easy monetary conditions, if inflation were to be there, you'd have seen some kind of credit growth, which is on the demand side, etc. But we're not seeing that. So if you look at credit growth, it is still at the lower end of what we have seen last year. We've seen private placement of corporate bonds in first 2 months of April and May for this financial year about 53,000 crores versus about 1,38,000 crores that we saw last year. And in addition, there are 2-3 points on inflation that I'd like to highlight. One is that RBI, like other foreign central banks, has been mentioning that inflation is transitory, and they've also been mentioning that the fuel price hikes or the rise in crude can be easily offset by lowering indirect taxes in the economy, which were raised when crude prices were lower. So if that is lowered, you are effectively being able to control inflation in a much more effective manner. Like in the last session, I had also mentioned that this is been a pandemic, which is a very special situation where demand and supply both saw a shock, and post which demand has risen very nicely in terms of the growth from the slump that you've seen, but supply has not been able to catch up with demand. So if you were seeing these conditions, so where supply has not been able to catch up with demand, it's kind of a supply side inflation that we've been looking at. So and if easy monetary conditions has not caused inflationary expectations to rise, whether tightening these monetary conditions itself will be able to control this inflation. And lastly, but most important, is that RBI has been pressing the point on being that they are focused on reviving growth durably in the economy, and it is an important objective for RBI. And when we are seeing GDP levels are still below pre-pandemic, and India will take some time to reach the pre-pandemic levels of GDP. Plus, we are at the nascent stage of recovery post the second wave of COVID that we have seen, which was by far the worst that across the globe that we've seen. So, tightening financial conditions prematurely might not help the growth conditions. So, in broadly, we think that RBI would not prepone policy normalization expectations from what they've been thinking because of the inflation trends that we are seeing.
Harshil, a very elaborate and detailed response to that question. Just an additional question in that series. So given the fragile state of our economy, timing and sequencing plays a very important role. So with that context, when do you expect RBI to pivot towards policy normalization?
So when we speak of policy normalization, if we take a look at how policy normalization should be sequenced, and if we were in the height of RBI, policy normalization actually would have already started when RBI did tinker with CRR pre-pandemic, pre the second wave that we saw. So that was maybe a start of the policy normalization. But going forward, if we think as RBI as to what needs to be done, is first they would suck out liquidity from the market through VRRR, which is the variable reverse repo auctions, which might be announced for a little longer tenor, also on a larger quantum. Post which you will see that the corridor between repo and reverse repo, which currently is at 65 basis points, starts to get normalized by RBI in the plus minus 25 basis points kind of range that RBI has been comfortable with, and that's the long-term average that we've seen. And post which RBI will tinker with the accommodative stance to bringing it to a neutral stance, and there we see rate hikes. So that's the broadly how RBI will sequence it. From a policy normalization, a large part, obviously, RBI will be thinking of growth, and they would want durable growth to be there, and not that they would want to tighten conditions and hurt growth conditions also in the economy. Second, what a very important piece is what you're seeing on the chart is that RBI has a large borrowing calendar to manage. RBI is the investment banker to the government. So from that perspective, we have 10.5 lakh crores of gross market borrowing supply to the market, and any premature tightening or any premature policy normalization will lead to a lower appetite for duration in the market, which will become difficult for the government to then get through the entire borrowing calendar smoothly, which also RBI has said that they will try and manage this time. So broadly, what we think is that VRRR or the second year of liquidity will start somewhere around October, November, post which the repo hikes that you see or rate hikes that you see would be a series that you will see only in the next financial year and not before that.
So Harshil, that was quite detailed and insightful. With that, I mean, before we conclude this edition, just wanted to summarize with two broad takeaways that I could take from this session. Firstly, the much anticipated path of normalization by central bankers across is likely to be well telecasted and very gradual. So just to caption it, maybe, taper without tantrum. And second cue from what, Harshil, you mentioned, so inflation is likely to be sticky in the short term. But the growth recovery is much in a nascent stage right now. So, RBI do have a tough task at hand to balance out both. But large part of it is largely priced in by the market and thus unlikely to be a surprise for markets on the path of previous normalization cycle. With that note, thank you, Bhupesh and Harshil, for your time and sharing this detailed insights. And I sincerely hope that our viewers will also find it very useful. So till the time we meet again for our next edition, please take care of yourself and be safe. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.